Welcome to Stay Humble podcast, Ben Rainey. How are you feeling today?
Hey, pal. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate. Good to be here. Good to have a chat with you.
No, it's really good to have you on the chat. And firstly, I wanted to know is what's your story in terms of first getting involved in music? Where did that sort of start that story?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from a musical background. There's no DJs in my family. There's no producers, everything that I'm doing. But like, just in general, like a very musical family. Like I've been brought up on, you know, disco, soul, funk, all the good stuff, what I class as. And yeah, I've just been educated on it from a young age, really. And I think it's always like, it's just embedded in me. Even though there's no one who's a music, well, there is singers in my family, but like, I think it was just embedded in me. And then kind of like growing up, I was always on the ball with music. I was always interested in different styles of music. And, I started off with like indie and Arctic Monkeys and Oasis and thinking I was like a mod and wearing like Ben Sherman and all the rest of it, like everyone did, and Adidas trainers, going to Hull City, thinking I was a hooligan. Don't know why, because I can't fight. But yeah, I just kind of found my feet and then just fell into house music by chance. I think it was just like a night out when I was like 17, 18. Didn't really know what I was going for and stumbled across like what I class as the right kind of stuff. And, curiosity killed the cat, didn't it? I think one thing led to another. And next thing you know, I'm trying to mix. And from there, it's just been an evolve. It's still evolving, mate. I don't think the journey's complete and I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, just kind of found my feet that way, really naturally. In answer to your question, like it was a really natural progression from curious about wanting to DJ to starting doing house parties, then getting the odd gig, then getting your name around the town, and then branching out of Hull into Leeds, Manchester. Next thing you know, you're in Dubai and everything's good. And now I'm in lockdown, sat in a dark room.
Yeah, and like you said about influences, what was the sort of influences that type of music that you did listen to at home? Like you said about your parents, what was that sort of influence in terms of what you used to listen to growing up?
Yeah, just I guess you're a product of your environment, aren't you, really? So for me it was just like family and friends and taking like if you showed me a track and I liked it, I'd find five more like that. That's all I can really say. Like there wasn't any in particular like influence. I mean, my uncle is into music, he's a singer, he's been in bands, he's been a DJ in the past, but not like club DJ, more like like party kind of like showmanship, I guess you want to call it. So I used to get shown one track and then I'd come back with 20 and then I'd kind of like I'd maybe like ask my mum and dad like are these like classics or are these like cheesy, like because obviously when you're not from that generation and it's old music, you kind of like you don't know what people's reaction is going to be because you don't know how it went down. Like for example, like if you wasn't if you're born in 10 years and all of a sudden in 20 years you become a DJ and you come across the noughties and the 2010s, what I don't know what era we're in now, but like the era we're in now, you come across all this music, yeah. So you could hear um Dance Monkey, that Dance Monkey song, that
Yeah.
annoying song that's on the radio every week, yeah. So you could come across that song and not know if that's classed as a classic or a cheese bomb pop tune. And obviously we know it's on the radio every week. It's annoying. It's a kiddie. It's like a TikTok kind of like cringy song. But if you're not from that area, you don't know that. So like I had to do my digging and do my research and just my influences are literally just family, friends, and like loved ones, really, man. And just took what I could from them and started digging.
Yeah. And when was the moment that you kind of went pro in terms of DJing? Like obviously you did it as like a bit of a side thing, but then when did you think, let's turn pro at this, let's go full at it?
Yeah, good question. I mean, funny because I think like obviously when you refer to like artists and sorry, like footballers and athletes, the word pros used, but I think with DJing, like there's never really a time when you could say. I guess once you start getting paid, you're a professional, I suppose. But there's no real like you're not signing to anything. You're just doing it. So it's like I think that's why it feels weird because I've never really had that moment where I've gone right. I've signed a contract. I'm a pro. But I think you start doing friends and families parties, barbecues, house parties, garden parties, kitchen parties. And then before you know it, the odd gigs are trickling. But the general assumption with a DJing is that the first few gigs are probably going to be exposure tickets and free drinks. You're not going to get paid. It's a bit like I guess you could judge it in like a placement kind of thing, or like what's it called, like work experience, kind of vibes like where you just do it and you soak it up, and if you like it, that's when you can progress. And yeah, I guess 2015, I think maybe 2016, like Position nightclub, I kind of started getting a few paid sets there. Then I started going to Sugar Mill, which a lot of people know it as, which is now Attic in Hull, a big nightclub. Started working in the Piper, Rift and Co, which is a bar in town. Just all the venues. All of a sudden, I think if you start with one and you get your name out, the others become aware of you, and it's about building that awareness, and getting to know people. You know, networking and getting to know who the managers are and all the rest of it. Just going from there, really, mate.
Yeah, that really sounds good. Like how you sort of found your feet and then going to pro. Is there any favorite piece of music that you've done for yourself in terms of music? Or is there anything that you really sort of enjoy playing? You know, when you're in your sets, is there any sort of music where you just really want to put that in your playlist or stuff like that? What would you say?
I always go back to the classics. To be fair to you, mate, I'm obviously predominantly like a dance music / house music kind of guy, but like for me, you can't beat the 90s, the piano, like kind of like old stuff, like yeah, old school funk, soul, disco, house music, anything on that spectrum really. Is like my guilty pleasure, but I think as well it works because it kind of caters for everyone. Everyone seems to enjoy it, so yeah, I definitely go down that path.
Yeah, and when did the idea come about in terms of wanting to teach others how to, how to go into sort of making music as well? When did that idea first come about in terms of teaching others?
Um, it's been on my agenda for a long time, but I think like a lot of us, we sit on ideas, we procrastinate, we don't, you know. It's like asking you, how long did you think about doing the podcast before you did it? I think we all sit on things for a while. There's a lot, I am a go getter, but I think naturally we all kind of think, is it worth it? Should I do it? Have I got the time? Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think it was like one of them things. Like I'd love to help people and start spreading good vibes and messages. And then naturally I kind of started mentoring a couple of people, but without knowing I was doing it, just like giving them a bit of advice, phone call here and there, checking in, giving them a few lessons, obviously pre-COVID. And then obviously COVID hits, and then I can't gig, I can't go out and earn my money. And it was like, look, I can really set my stall out here to start helping people. And I think the first few months, obviously you've got the government support and bits and bobs. I was able to stand on my feet and not really need to worry about money. So I thought, right, I'm going to spend the next few months just really grafting on like my course, I guess, like courses and my fundamental learning structure, and building a bit of a program for people to follow. And yeah, just kind of started doing it this time last year, I guess, really nearly. And yeah, just from there, it's just because of the way the world's working now with Zoom and people are sat at home, like it's just really kicked off. And I guess it's kind of become my main thing now. Obviously, DJing's like if you ask me when my last set was, I can't even remember. But if you ask me when my last student was, there's quite possibly somebody enrolling to one of my courses while we're sat here talking, which is quite amazing, really.
No, it's great that you've obviously looked at that opportunity right now to look and teach other people. Has there been generally a really good uptake in terms of the people taking on your course?
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how broad the spectrum of person is. Like you might think who'd want to learn how to DJ, and in your head you may be thinking like younger adults, children, people like low to mid-20s, like. And predominantly, without sounding rude, I think a lot of people would predict it would be boys, like young lads, like 18, 19 maybe, or younger. It's been top to bottom, women at 50 plus, guys 60 plus, kids 12, 10. Like the spectrum and like if I try to analyze the students, it's just so diverse. And that's what I love. Like I could walk past somebody in the street who I've taught online and I'd never ever known. It's quite scary, really. But yeah, no, it's great. Honestly, it's really, really good.
No, it's obviously really great to hear that so many people, like so many diverse people, want to sort of in this sort of time as well, that they want to upskill and learn about that. And what are the future plans for the sort of teaching of music from yourself? What are your plans for the future with it?
Yeah. Good question. I think it's just about scaling, but being sensible, because obviously online teaching is a bit different to maybe obviously straight up education. It's mainly like courses which are obviously pre-recorded, but I think what people forget is if you're doing a 2 or 3 hour course, there's hours of like work and trial and error that go into it, recording it, editing it, getting it uploaded. It's not a 2 hour process, even though it might be a 2 hour course. So like sometimes it can take me weeks to get them sorted, and I don't want to rush them, but I also kind of want to start getting more out, because at the end of the day, if I'm aiming my courses at beginners, which I am, in 6 months' time, the beginners are going to need intermediate level training, then advanced. So I need to start scaling in that direction. But I also need to, well, I don't need to, but I want to offer more variation in what I'm teaching. And I think there's sadly only so many hours in the day. You know, I'm a music producer. I'm in a long-term relationship, which has commitments, as we all know. Women obviously demand a lot of time. Yeah, there's just commitments left, right, and centre, and no commitments that I don't enjoy. You know, I'm loving all of it, but I think sadly Rome wasn't built in a day, and what I want to do in my head and actually doing it is a different situation. So yeah, I've got a lot of plans to expand, and I'm just taking on board feedback from people as well. Like, the feedback's been amazing. I've not had any negativity at all with it, which, like, in life generally you will find a bit of negativity surrounds anything, be it jealousy, be it like bitterness, be it like people are scared. I don't know what it could be, but like, you always usually get a bit of jealousy. And to be honest, I've not really had anything. Touch wood.
No, that's really good to hear. And obviously, just kind of saying that about there, where you said that you've got obviously all these things that you're having to balance out. I know from speaking to previous guests I've had on this show, and obviously friends that we have in common, that you're a mental health ambassador, and you're also a facilitator at Andy Man Club Hull. How did you sort of lead to supporting others? How did that sort of come about?
Yeah, really, really good question. I think, you know, how do I describe it? Like, we all are aware of mental health, but I think until you've gone through something yourself, you kind of, you know, it changes your outlook on things. I mean, obviously, I was very aware of anxiety. I was very aware of depression, as we all are, sadly, in this day and age. Very aware of suicide and the trauma it leaves behind. But I think until it happens to you, you've not walked that path. And I don't wish it upon anybody, but I think when you've been through something and, you know, you're struggling yourself, you're kind of reaching out for help. And that's where I found myself. I don't know, you can see in the background a photo of me and my friend. I lost my best friend to suicide just over 2 years ago. And that kind of was the start of my journey in looking for answers, I guess, on why it has to be that way with suicide and depression, and I guess dipping my toe in it, and stumbled across obviously Andy's Man Club straight away. Like, it just became part of my weekly routine. I was using the club like anybody else is welcome to do, and I still use it as like a help for myself. But then obviously it got to a point where, you know, on my journey of looking for answers and grieving and really kind of digging deep in I guess in my soul and a bit philosophical, which, not to get too deep, I realized that I naturally had an ability to like lift other people, and around Andy's Man Club, people was, you know, feeding me back, saying like, we love being in your group, you know, we love hearing what you've got to say. Like, it seemed that even though I was in a negative place, I always managed to give people positivity. And then obviously Andy's Man Club recognized that, the guys that run it, and offered me, like, I say offered me, it's not like it's a job or anything, just said, look, would you kind of like step up to be a facilitator, start spreading the word a bit? And obviously through that I thought, well, obviously I've got my music, and I thought, I know how it feels to grieve and lose people. So if I can use my music in a positive manner to maybe just show people that it is okay to talk, it is okay not to be okay. And I just started like tagging my mixes sometimes, you know, with it. And then it just became a bit more of a thing. People caught onto it, and the response was great. So it kind of gives you the confidence, right? I'll step it up a bit. I'll keep wearing the Andy's Man Club gear. I'll, you know, promote it on social media. And like, because I think at first I was a bit like anxious, because I think you just don't know what the reaction is going to be, because people can actually reverse things like this on you and be like, oh, like, you know, like people jumping on the bandwagon. Is he just trying to say mental health to make himself look good? And I've seen people do that, but if they don't know your journey and they don't know what you've been through, especially like maybe what I've been through and people around me have been through, I think when people start to realize that, and the respect levels go up. So I've just always kept with it. And like I say, I shout about it because it almost helps me to help other people. So yeah, it's just part of my journey. And it's just something that naturally, again, is just incorporated into my music, that whole message of, you know, reach out if you need it. It's okay to be, and just subtle messages, you know. If I'm going to put something out there about music and I can attach something, you know, like that to it, and why not? Because there's been numerous people that I've come to, like Andy's Man Club, and, you know, I haven't personally known them, but they've turned around and said, oh, like, I found out about this through Ben's social media. And I think, again, not that might, like, I don't mean that to sound like a brag, but that really does make me feel good, because I think I'm doing the right thing. I'm not just putting content on the internet, which is not helping anybody. It might be, you know, good content because of the music, people might enjoy it, but at least I'm also spreading a positive message with it. And I think that's why it works for me, because it kind of helps me to do something productive with what I love doing. So it's just a really natural kind of connection that's happened there.
Yeah, I think that's a really positive thing in terms of making a difference to someone, that they've reached out to that club because of you
Yeah.
using that social media. And I think it's a big thing for me at the moment, particularly this month. I've been talking about sort of that sort of mental health, and people, particularly with it being January, it's usually been always known as a difficult month for people after Christmas and stuff. And obviously, this is just not like any other January with lockdowns and stuff like that. What has sort of been the uptake like at Andy's Man Club during this month, or even just during the whole of lockdowns and stuff like that? Has there been a bigger intake of people coming to seek support?
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you said, naturally this time of year is tough, especially Christmas, with, you know, anyone that's lost anyone, or certain, you know, it can be a bit tender for people. So yeah, the levels of support and the people coming through the doors has been great. I mean, it is difficult because of the lockdown. You know, some people are probably wanting to come, but not afraid, either afraid to come, or health wise, maybe not safe to come at the minute. But we're definitely getting a lot of new people come in, you know, struggling with, like most people, being in the house a lot more, not having the freedom. You know, a lot of people are on top of each other with the partners, the family, you know. I think, like, what we've all kind of agreed at the club is, and I think this is the case for everyone, is like, because of the situation we're in, and we're in this little, like, we're like wrapped in cotton wool / in like a box. Little problems are big being magnified and becoming bigger problems. Like, things that wouldn't bother you because you're so busy and you're out and about are all of a sudden getting on top of people, like little niggles, little, like, things at home and stuff. And I really kind of, I agree with that. So yeah, we've definitely found a good intake of people coming just looking for a conversation sometimes, but loneliness, which is a killer in itself. So yeah, it's positive. A good start to the year in terms of people coming through the doors, but also I think after lockdown fully, like when the doors are such a back open for us to roam, I think you'll get a lot more people coming who have kind of developed, sadly, mental health problems through lockdown. Like, there's a lot of people suffering anxiety this lockdown. So yeah, it's just going to get bigger and bigger, and I think the message is just going to get stronger.
Yeah, like I say, I hope people do seek the support and stuff like that. Like I said, I spoke to Luke Scott on my previous podcast in terms of, we
Yeah.
just discussed, like, in terms of, it's a bit of a stigma in terms of people not being prepared to sort of share how they're feeling, sort of, especially across, like, say, over, like, at the moment, been restricted, not able to have that sort of face-to-face contact. That's been one of the things that, you know, I feel people need to start being able to be open to speak to others, and use that opportunity in terms of what's available. And I wanted to also ask you, what has it been like for yourself in the last year? Not been obviously been able to DJ and stuff like that. Has that had an effect on you yourself particularly?
Yeah, really good question again. And I think someone else asked me this, because obviously most people do know me for being out and about DJing and just being busy and out and about in general, and being a bit of a social butterfly, I guess. And it's been almost refreshing, you know. Like, I think I've said this to someone else on a podcast, and I mean this in, like, the nicest way possible, because obviously I know COVID is, you know, horrendous, and I don't wish it upon anybody. You know, God bless anybody that's suffering or has suffered or has lost anybody. But the lockdown side of things, the break, the stopping doing everything we was doing, for me, has been a blessing in disguise, because I think when you're running at 100 miles an hour all the time, you're constantly running on fumes. You're always worn out and stuff, and you kind of get to a point where you don't realize, and you're just running on fumes. Like, and I was living like that 99% of my time, no sleep, bad diet, no exercise, no non-stop, 24/7, 7 days a week, bad, everything was gone. So to just stop that and go, hang on a minute, get yourself in bed early, get up early, start running, start walking, start eating right, start living right, I've turned into a different person, and I'm almost scared to go back to how I was. But I think that's because of my industry, you know, for anyone that is like thinking, why is he saying that? Like, you've got to remember that I'm a DJ, so I'm out till 3 or 4 in the morning, 4 nights a week. I'm eating McDonald's at 4 in the morning. I'm drinking Red Bull till 4 in the morning. I'm hyping myself up on sugar, glucose, all these bad quick fixes 4 nights a week. But what you've also got to remember is because of me doing it so much, the 3 nights a week I've got off doesn't mean I go to bed at 11 o'clock because my body is so used to going to bed at 3 o'clock. I'll be laying in bed next to my girlfriend wide awake, scrolling through Facebook. Again, dangerous. Everything I was doing was just so negative and dangerous. I'm not saying the job was, because I love my job, but what I was living like was so like, not negative, but it was dangerous. It was unsustainable. And I was running on fumes, and it was almost like I needed this break to re-energize and revitalize. And I think what will happen is, for me, when it comes back round, I'll be a bit more tactical and a bit more. I'll say no to more, and that's one thing I've learned is, you know, I can't do that 4 nights a week anymore. I can maybe do it 1 night a week or 2 nights a week. Like most people might go out on a weekend 2 nights a week or 1 night a week sociably, and then they go to work all week. They're in a diet. I think it's that 80-20 balance, you know, like 80% good, 20% indulge kind of thing. Like, you know, Jay's probably said it to you before, Jay Bell, our mutual friend. And it's a case of, look, none of us are going to 100% abide by a diet 24/7. You know, I love chocolate. I do love Monster energy drinks, and I do like a fast food. But if I do that 1 night a week in one meal and have one fizzy drink and one, I'm not going to harm myself. Whereas if I'm doing it consistently the way I was, I potentially am. So yeah, and obviously because I've had a chance to start the education stuff, which is obviously bringing in an income, and I've started some other bits and bobs. Like, as much as how do I say it? As much as I've how do I say what I'm trying to say? As much as I have missed it, I've needed it, and I'm revitalized. And it's only now that we're getting into like a year, I'm going, Jesus, imagine if I could DJ again. Like, it's getting to that point now where like I am starting to miss it, but at the same time, I am in a good place. So yeah, and as long story short, I feel like it's been a blessing in disguise to me mentally and physically. I needed it.
No, it's really good to hear. Like I say, that's give you like sort of revive you and probably give you that itch again to get back out DJing and stuff like that. That's
It, yeah.
obviously a real positive thing. Has it had any sort of motivation in terms of producing stuff? Has it give you sort of time to come up with more inspiration for stuff that you're making?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, it's some of the things that have happened in lockdown, like for me on the music scene, and you know, in terms of growth and development and whatever else you want to call it, would not have happened if it wasn't for lockdown. So yeah, like 100%. Yeah, it's been productive, and it's opened avenues and doors that I never had access to. And also, what you've got to remember is, you know, no matter what industry you're in, so your peers and you kind of like, if you're a footballer or you're an artist or you're an athlete that wants to get sponsored by Nike or wants to contact Nike or wants to contact Gymshark or whatever, like obviously in the music industry, I want to contact Warner, Sony, Ministry of Sound, all these big labels. They also was like me. They was all running at 100 miles an hour. And now because they've slowed down, they actually check their emails. They actually reply to emails. So I've got access to like a bigger network. So you've got to utilize that. And I have done that. And luckily, you know, I've connected with people that I never had access to before. And yeah, just open doors, which I'm confident that when we come out of lockdown, I'll be in a different place in terms of the kind of gigs that I might get and the bookings and the artists that I might be related to. So yeah, in general, mate, like it's just been an all round blessing, but obviously there is a negative side to it, which is the mental health and the loneliness and the trapped feeling. And, you know, there's pros. I'm not saying it's all, I'm not trying to paint it out to be like a complete, well, like amazing thing. You know, there has been a lot of flaws to it as well, but yeah, all around it's been quite good.
Yeah, there's always pros and cons to everything, isn't there? And obviously, one of the things I was going to ask you is in terms of this sort of period that we're going through now, obviously we're restricted again, is what would you recommend to people, like maybe 3 ideas to help them get through this period of time? I know one of the things I think I've seen on your social media before January was that you were kind of having a social media detox. Is that something you would suggest massively for people right now?
Yeah, I'm on it now. Like I'm put it this way, I committed to a 30-day digital detox in January. And obviously, we're coming to the end of January. I don't know. I imagine this podcast's probably going out next week in February, maybe. I'm not sure. But put it this way, I'm thinking about not going back. It's been a blessing because currently on social media, you know, we're all surrounded by this COVID talk. Everyone's got an opinion, negativity. Someone's moaning because they haven't got money. Someone's moaning they haven't got a job. Someone's moaning that they can't. Like, and I understand, but we're all moaning. So I don't want to watch other people moan. Like, it's just a bit of a toxic environment at the minute. So I needed a break. And also, like, my 3 top tips, try and get a little social media detox in if you can. You know, if you can pull away for at least, even if it's a week, it'll detox you. A lot of people I know, myself included, you know, sometimes I just commit to like a Sunday, no phone. It's hard, but it'll just refresh everything. So yeah, sometimes that can work, but number 1 is definitely a social detox in any proximity or any scale. Number 2, it's kind of the obvious, it's the exercise, but like there's days where it's as at the minute it's freezing, and there's days where I physically do not want to go outside in this cold weather, but the minute I do it and the minute I get into it, I feel a million times better, you know. So I just kind of, it's like a non-negotiable now. I force myself, like even today I've been busy with work. It was freezing cold. I just said to myself, 30 minutes walking. Sometimes that's all it needs to be, you know. It doesn't always have to be a big... I think that's the problem. A lot of people think it's got to be like 40 minutes cardio, an hour run. If you can set your level out, because what I do is sometimes I set myself unrealistic expectations. So I'll aim for like an hour run. I'll do it 2 days in a row, and then I won't be able to do it again for like a month because I just can't commit to that. Whereas I can commit to 30 days walking at least a day. If I've got more time, I'll do an hour. If I can be bothered, I'll do a run. And that's how I work it. And the third one is routine. And it sounds simple, but getting out of bed and actually, you know, saying to yourself, right, 7 a.m. every day or 8 a.m., even if it's 9 a.m., it doesn't matter. 9 a.m., I'm out of bed, coffee, read a book, watch the news. Try not to watch the news because it's full of negativity, but like whatever it is you're going to do, like I read a book in the morning, or I'll go on like I'll watch like an online course or a tutorial every morning with my coffee for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever. Then I'll say, right, by 10 a.m., for example, I want to be in my studio, so that I know that I'm getting up at 9, I'm in the studio for 10, or I'm getting up at 8, I'm in the studio for 9, whatever. So that straight away is my morning routine. Then I do 30 minutes piano just to learn the piano, and then I do 30 minutes email, clear my inbox, bang, straight in for the day. What's my tasks? Right, the night before, I always plan my day ahead. So like when we get off this call, I will plan tomorrow, so I already know. So mentally, I'm already ready. But yeah, no, that's just how I do it. You know, everyone's got different ways. Everyone's got different things, ways of looking at it and stuff, and I understand that. But that's how I'm doing it, and that's what works for me. I think. Yeah, routine, exercise, and social detox. 3 things that'll clear it up. And if you can improve on that, try and cut sugars from your diet because they are brutal.
I really think there's some really good tips, particularly the routine one. I think, particularly for those that might not be able to go to work at the moment or having to work from home, that's a really good opportunity to sort of look at that and reframe. And the exercise one, I think, is a great one again as well, in terms of being like sort of not so much the feeling of what the exercise would feel like before, it's more the feelings afterwards. I think more people should think about them as, you know, the endorphins at the end of it, and the reward of doing that, I think, is something that people should particularly focus on.
100%, mate. 100%.
And what I want to go on to ask you now is in terms of what is the future for Ben Rainey? You know, what's the future plans once hopefully lockdown is going to be done with, all these things in terms of that, and we can go back to sort of a normal world that we was used to before all this?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. I mean, for me, it's a case of kind of keep on keeping on, like just doing what I'm doing, but just being a bit smarter in my decisions. You know, like you say, we all have 24 hours in a day, and I think sometimes I do not procrastinate, but assign my time to the wrong things, and then at the end of the day, I don't really feel fulfilled. The main thing is build this educational kind of thing that I'm doing and try and scale it and try and look at other avenues. Obviously I can't currently have people in my studio, so there's no one-to-ones. It's all online, but that's maybe a good thing because you could teach 100 people a day online, whereas you can only teach maybe 5-10 people a day in person. And also, I can make it more affordable online because I can teach in bulk, whereas in person, my hours have to be a bit more expensive. So yeah, just build this online platform while I've got the time to, because at the end of the day, when we get back to normal and the gigs come back, I'll have less time. But if I've already got the content ready and I've got it online, I kind of like, I've got two mountains there. And yeah, just keep learning new skills and becoming a better person, a better version of myself. I know it sounds a bit cliche to say, but like, I am constantly learning, like, even if it's my music stuff, like people maybe look at me and think, oh yeah, you can make music, you can do that. But like, I'm not an expert, I've still got a lot to learn. It's like, just because you're an electrician don't mean you're the world's best. Like we all could improve, and I'm always trying to improve. So yeah, just constantly looking for new measures to kind of leverage myself to that next place. And in terms of the music, just keep like pushing with my own stuff and improving. Yeah, just trying to get new tracks signed, get more listeners, get more fans, just everything you can imagine, really, mate.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Ben, in terms of trying to improve ourselves. Like, I think the big thing is just them 1% things can make us a better person. I think that's one of the things that we all should aspire to do. And I've just got a couple of final quick questions to sort of ask you that I like to ask guests. And the first one is, what does it mean to be human?
Good question. What does it mean to be human? I mean, for me, it's all just about the connections and loyalty and relationships, I think. Like, whatever I'm doing, yeah, we can have this conversation for an hour. We can talk about all my music and my courses, but all it boils down to is looking after my mum, my dad, my girlfriend, and my family. My sister, my uncle, etc. Friends, and just memories and loyal. Yeah, just everything. I think we all get so caught up in our own world, our own goals, our own jobs, our own businesses, our own finances, and what we forget is it don't matter. Like, it does matter, but it doesn't matter. It's hard to explain. I think it's a really tough one to get your head around, but nothing matters more than the people around you and your family and friends. And I put nothing above them. And I think I used to put work and my own goals and my own ambitions before that, but I think now it's like, right, I'm going to go to work all day and grind on my own dream. I'm going to build my own dream, build my own thing. But at the end of the day, I'm just so lucky to go home to my family and my girlfriend, and that's all that matters. Money cannot buy them things, bro, like, at all. So yeah, just keep on keeping on, really, mate, and keep doing what I'm doing, I think.
That's a really good answer, Ben. And finally, I'd like to ask you, what sort of helps you to stay humble?
Good question. Again, my family and friends, like, they all kind of keep me grounded, and I don't really buy into too much on, like, what other people are saying. Like, I don't believe the hype, if that makes sense. Like, admittedly, I do, like I say, on the courses, get a lot of feedback. Musically, I get a lot of great feedback, and I'm so blessed to have that. But you got to remember, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy that presses a few buttons and dances. If I remembered that, no matter what other people perceive me as, or social media can perceive you the wrong way. Followers, blue ticks, all these cool things, which are great, and they're great for business, and they're great for the vision. But fundamentally, I'm just a kid that loves making music, and I'm happy to be blessed to be able to do what I love. And as long as people like that, like, I'm happy, and I don't think, just don't believe your own hype too much, because the bigger your ego and the higher you go, you can soon get knocked down. The falls are a lot harder than the rise, So just keep humble, because you're going to meet all them people that you've, potentially been a dickhead to on the way up, back on the way down, and they're not going to have any sympathy for you. And I kind of just try and keep myself on a level playing field all the way through. And like I say, the people around me that are truly, like, I trust, and like my family and friends, they don't big me up or anything. They keep me where I need to be, and I think that's what matters.
That's really good. They've got people that help keep you grounded. And thank you for this podcast, having this chat. And I just wanted to quickly give you sort of like a platform now for people to reach out to you, if they want to listen to what you do, or maybe they might want to seek support at Andy's Man Club, or they might even want to sort of maybe from speaking to me here that they might be interested in taking up DJing, for instance. So what
Yeah,
sort of platform do you want to give to people that are listening or watching?
yeah, 100%. I mean, the first and foremost and the most important platform is Andy's Man Club. I mean, forget anything I'm doing. If I can help anyone, the first help I'm looking to give people is Andy's Man Club before I start trying to promote my own stuff. And yeah, literally just put Andy's Man Club into Google and you'll see the website, the Facebook, their Instagram. You'll get all the information you need. But then on the reverse of that, if you're somebody that's looking for help or you feel like you could maybe benefit it, or you've got anxieties, you've got questions, then you can approach me and you can ask me anything and I'll help you. I'll even meet you on the gate. I'll meet you outside. I can take you in, give you any answers you want. All social media is just Ben Rainey. You'll find me anywhere you need. And like I say, I'm a really open book. I try my hardest to reply to everybody. Sometimes you just don't physically see messages, or you don't hear people calling your name. But if I see something, I always reply to it. I think, I'll always give people the time of day. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions about Andy's Man Club or music or DJing, hit me up, Ben Rainey. But first and foremost is, obviously Andy's Man Club and remembering it is okay to talk.
That's great, Ben. And like I say, I'll put all that in the podcasting notes and sort of descriptions for people so they can search for that as
Yeah.
well. So,
Thanks,
like I
Willie,
say,
yeah.
no problem at all. And like I say, thank you for giving up your time in terms of just having this discussion. Like I say, it's been really great to hear sort of your story into music and certainly hearing about what you're doing in terms of helping others in terms of both, not just musically, but also helping people with mental health. So it's been really great to hear that. And, thank you for that.
Anytime, mate. Thank you ever so much for having me and I hope you have a nice night.
Thank you.